us this evening. Eileen Brett will be joining us towards 7:30. So I would like to call this Shade Tree Commission meeting of November 29th, 2022 to order. First order of business is Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. Okay, thank you very much. Before we move into our next order of business, I did want to take a minute to thank Lisa Borowski. She's been our Shade Tree Commission Board of Commissioners liaison for the past few years. And as most of you probably know, she is now going to the House representing our district. So thank you very much, Lisa, for your efforts and your time. Thank you. You've really seen us through to great success, so appreciate everything that you've done for us. All right. So next order of business is meeting minutes. So does any of the commission members have any questions or comments regarding last meeting's minutes? Look good? So I'll make a motion to approve. All in favor? Aye. James? Aye. All right. Our consent agenda, so we have one address, 300 Country View Drive, 90 cubic yards of dirt being removed, 0 trees being removed. James or Matt, you guys want to speak to this address?
Yeah, well landscaped property, maintained well, no shade tree issues, no. I couldn't see any trees in any kind of issue that would have an issue with what they're up to. So it looked fine.
Sounds good. Good. Do we have any public comment for the consent agenda? None? Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. Okay, moving on to the main show. New grading permits. So do we have anyone from Cabrini University here? Good evening. You know the deal.
Good evening. Good evening, Rob Lambert here on behalf of Cabrini University. Cabrini is proposing a small shade structure at the end of the parking lot for athletics. It's really just a gathering spot before and after games. So to the top of the page is the existing synthetic turf athletic field. You can see the gray parking lot area here, and they're going to build a 960 square foot shade structure, a small retaining wall along the sides. There will be 5 trees removed, and we're here because we're moving over 200 yards of dirt.
Thank you. And none of those 5 trees are heritage trees?
Correct.
Okay. In regards to tree protection around the site, can you describe that to us, please? Yes,
so we'll have tree protection around the edge of the site. The good news is this really will be accessed from the parking area. It's into a little bit of a slope, so the parking side is the low side. The back side's the high side, so when they go to excavate, they're really going to be working from the parking lot side, excavating, building the wall, and then building that. So kind of the overrun of disturbance of any equipment will be minimal.
Great. Any other questions? All right, looks pretty straightforward. I'll make a motion to approve. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next address on the agenda. Do we have anyone from 197 South Spring Mill Road with us this evening? No one? Okay, we will come back to that address as necessary. Next address, do we have anyone from 303 Orchard Way?
Yes, I'm the homeowner. My contractor is running a little bit behind.
Okay.
He has the plans.
Okay, we can, do you know how long out he is?
I don't. He said just a couple minutes. He had to drop his son off after back to
Okay,
school.
no worries. We'll push you down the list.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Yep. Do we have anyone from 309 Oxford Road? Good evening. So it looks like we have 50 cubic yards of dirt remaining on site, 18 trees to be removed. So if you could state your name, relation to the project, and just give us an overview.
Hi, I'm Mike Rokosny from Site Engineering, representing the owner of the property. The property is currently not developed, and the applicant is proposing to develop a new residence with supporting driveway, sidewalks. We are actually proposing, if you can scroll to the left a little bit, we're proposing to remove 21 trees and proposing 27 trees to be replaced.
Okay. Can you speak, while we're taking a look at the tree table, speak a little bit to tree protection and how construction equipment is getting in and out of the site?
Yes, construction equipment will be entering through an existing driveway, and we're proposing a construction entrance at the end of the existing driveway. And then tree protection fence I have highlighted on the plan. We're proposing tree protection fence for every existing tree within 25 feet of the limit of disturbance.
Sounds good. And can you speak to the trees that are coming out? Are all of them healthy, or are there any that are being deemed hazardous?
There is one tree that our survey marked as dying, and the rest are healthy trees.
Okay.
Is my memory correct that most of those trees are ash
Yes,
that are coming out?
yes.
And you had an arborist look at these trees?
We have not.
You might want to, because if they're in decline, and they probably are, that's going to change how we address the formula for you, and it will benefit you.
Okay.
But we also appreciate you not marking those as hazardous and keeping the replacement 26. You know, if you guys feel that you'd like to continue to do that. So out of the trees being removed, the 22, so it looks like we have 3 8-inch ash, 4 10-inch ash, a bunch of other ash. I'm just going through the larger ones here. 2 20-inch pines, 1 24-inch pine. And your proposed tree replacement, if you wouldn't mind going through species and kind of locations of proposed location.
Yes, we've actually revised our plan per the township engineer comment. I'm trying to get this on the screen here. So we are proposing 17 green giants, 6 red maples, 2 American yellowwoods, and 2 Crimean linden trees. And we chose those trees based off of the appendix from the township code.
Okay. So in doing the math, it does look like, so you're removing 22 and you're replacing with 26, but 21?
Yeah, we revised our plan, so we're removing 21 trees and replacing with 27. I'm not sure if you can see it on the screen there.
21, 27, got it, thank you. The one that was removed from the list of trees coming out, which one was that? Do you recall?
I believe that there was just a miscalculation in the table. It should just be 21 trees.
21, 27. So, currently, how many sized trees are between the 19 to 29 caliber?
18
18.
and 3 above.
Okay. So it does look like your replacements are lower than what we would require, if I'm doing the math correctly. By 4. Thank you, John.
But when you take into consideration the ash,
Sure. So, and I don't know, John, if we would need a specific hazardous tree report for the ashes, correct? We kind of
do not, they're exempt.
deem those just as bypass. Okay. And John, you didn't get a chance to go on site for this one?
I did not, but
Okay,
I know a little bit about this project.
okay. So, before I make a motion, does anyone else have any questions or comments? So what I would propose is this, which is, John, if you could go on site just to verify the ash. I don't think we need a hazardous tree report for these beyond the township arborist just going out to verify. And
Yeah, and we can approve it contingent upon Mike's calculations, so.
yep. And, well, the updated calculations are reflected in this most recent plan, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And that was sent to the township?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So we'll have that on file. Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve contingent upon verifying the ash. That would be subtracted out of the replacement formula, and with that being done, you definitely have enough replacements. Species look good. You have a second? James is excited. All right. All in favor? Aye. All right, thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. Next on the agenda, St. Honore. So welcome back.
Good to be back.
Yeah. So I know you guys were before the BOC last night for a caucus, so no votes were had at that point. And I believe in watching it, there weren't any major comments from the BOC, but I think that was early on in the BOC seeing it. But happy to have you back, and if you could just give us an outline of kind of what has changed from last meeting to this meeting, that would be great.
Right. Bern Panzak, as you know from previous meetings. And since our last meeting, we have resubmitted the tree index plan. We've identified all the trees that were listed as unidentified. We've slightly modified the tree protection fence to conform with some of the comments that we made during our site walk with you folks and the neighbors. So there will be additional and expanded tree protection in these areas here, in this area here along the existing properties that border Eagle and Stratford. There's also some additional tree protection. If we could zoom out, I guess, would be good. In the far end to relate to one of the neighbors who has an off-site maple tree that we're trying to provide some additional protection to during construction. We've also added protection around a Norway spruce on Mrs. Morgan's property. The other items that have come up since that meeting is that there's been significant discussion with Mrs. Morgan, and there's been meetings at her property, and we have provided a requested solid 6-foot fence along the property line with the West Avenue neighbors. We've also agreed to change the buffer planting from all Nellie Stevens hollies to integrate cryptomeria and the green giant arborvitae. Those would be provided along the Morgan property. The Nellie Stevens would continue along the other property lines as well. We've also talked about the Norway spruce and the activity that would happen with respect to the sanitary sewer. As you may recall, there's a manhole close to that tree, and we would be entering that manhole from the site side, so the least invasive approach with respect to that root zone. And what we've agreed to do is escrow funds for 6 green giant arborvitae should that tree have decline in the next coming years. So, that's another item. And I don't know if it was completely clear, but I think there was an agreement in the last meeting to upsize street trees, and specifically the street trees along Stratford Avenue were the ones that we were focusing on. There seemed to be an open-ended comment in the minutes that all replacement trees would be upsized. I think there should be clarification of that to the Stratford Avenue trees. So I believe, with that summary, again, we've had multiple meetings at the site. We've had multiple meetings with the neighbors. I think this applicant has done an exemplary job of doing this development the right way, and meeting and working through the process, and being a responsible developer in this regard. So you know the history of the project. Tree removal because of sidewalk requirements. We've also met with the township engineer, Mr. Norsini. He's had laid eyes on these trees, understands the location and the requirements for the concrete sidewalk in that area, and agrees that the trees should come out. And again, as recognition for those trees, we've agreed to upsize those street trees along that area. There's been discussions about extension of sidewalk down to the line, the township line. There's a small extension to connect sidewalk in this area, and we have complied with all the ordinance requirements. We've, provided the requisite amount of canopy trees and all replacement trees in addition to buffer trees and street trees. And we think that, we're really inheriting a canopy that's somewhat in decline out there. Trees have fallen down since we've started this process, and we think that this is an opportunity to reinvigorate this site with canopy that will be in the ascent, and will be doing so for decades to come. So thank you for having us again, and if you have any questions, we're here. And Steve Schreiner, our arborist, is also available for questions.
Great. Thank you so much for running through that. And I do just want to take a moment to recognize that you guys have been going above and beyond for all of this, for an important development in an important area of Wayne, so thank you. So just to add a couple of notes outside of what you described, I know as a commission we did have some discussions with the township engineer regarding the sidewalks and options around that. And then also just keeping track of, being good stewards to the neighbors, which I think sounds like everyone is now happy with what needs to be done. So with that said, does anyone else on the commission have any comments or questions?
Yeah, just one. You said that the request was for a larger tree by Stratford, was it? Could you do, since there are probably going to be small trees going there, right? Because there's wires.
The plan is to push these street trees back to the ultimate right-of-way so we can get a larger canopy tree in there, and that's what our intention is.
So there
and-
would be enough room with the power lines and everything?
Yeah, and the tree that we were focused on was one that is on the plan, a Morton Circle London plane tree, and that literature's telling me that it's about a 30-foot canopy, a little bit, smaller variety of London plane tree.
But it's not going right up?
Yeah, and we're approximately 14, 15 feet back from the wires where these trees will be planted. So from a canopy standpoint, we should just be right at the wires on maturity,
Got it.
if the literature is true.
So it'd probably be fine, but in 20 or 30 years, Pico might come, or Asplund might come in and start whacking them. So my suggestion maybe is to where your stormwater is going, maybe put the larger DBH trees there.
Back in here?
Yeah. Would that make sense? And then just regular, I think it's 2.5-inch caliper,
Right.
that would be going by the street, and just keep them there. Do you guys think that's okay, or what do you think, John?
Far enough back. I mean, I think it's a great plan. I mean, people want to see that streetscape, so I believe the larger size will
You don't
work
think
well.
they're gonna get hacked back anytime?
No.
No? Okay. He's the man.
Yeah, and, again, we were very conscious of that sizing, and, I think we favor the larger canopy, and, just pushing it back to that ultimate right-of-way point, we felt would be
He says there's enough room, I'm good with it.
sweet spot.
I think the plan is beautiful.
Okay.
That was all I had.
Could you just advise, what is the larger DBH you're going to be putting in along Stratford? 4-inch? Okay.
4-inch caliper.
Yeah, and just to clarify what you had mentioned, the request to put in larger DBH, I think we're, as a commission, totally fine with the street trees being that and not the entire project, of course.
Right.
So just wanted to make sure I noted that for the record. Okay, so from a shade tree perspective, I know that you've satisfied all of the requests that we had from prior discussions, so thanks for putting together the hazard tree report, understanding that you're not including most, if all, hazard trees in the total count. And I do know that there's going to be a aftercare plan put into place for a lot of these trees. So I think we've ticked all the boxes. Before I make a motion, any other comment? All right. So I will make a motion to approve the plans and project. Do you have a second? All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Best of luck.
Yep.
Thanks, Cass, for a good job.
Good work.
Appreciate it.
Apologies. Do we-
Sorry, there were some neighbors that
Sure.
attended the meeting, and,
We will take a moment for public comment.
okay, thank you.
Good press or bad press here?
This is good press, because I am one of the neighbors, and in past meetings, my views were not spoken for or addressed, and it was very frustrating. I haven't been able to attend these meetings because I'm recently back to work, a father of 2 small children, and it was very frustrating to hear that you want to change the plans, and like, there's trees falling, power lines come down in my backyard, my kids can't play outside when it's windy, and to try and slow this project up puts my children at risk, so I'm appreciative that you finally passed this plan. And with the sidewalks in particular, I had to use a walker this year, so to hear that you want to save 6 trees in lieu of a sidewalk, that was very hard to hear, because, I had to use a walker, and trying to do that on the street, those streets are dangerous. And I also have 2 small children. Even, now, thankfully, I can use a stroller, it's not easy walking through that part of Wayne without sidewalks. So we should always be in favor of sidewalks, especially when it's a private investment, going to put them in. So I expect that they would be ADA and concrete. And if we're going to do it, I would ask that we just do one thing right. I'll show you this picture. Like this was some of the sidewalks they're going to connect into. So if we do the sidewalks, please just do it right and don't try and build around a tree. You can see that the roots have made that a safety hazard. I can't get to that sidewalk, but when I was with the walker, I couldn't get up it or I would trip. Or now with the stroller, my kids, we can't get there on scooters. So again, thank you for approving this, and just please take that into consideration for this project and future projects. So thank you. And I'm at Chris Bell at 420 West Ave. So
Thank you. Any other public comment?
My name is Dave Satterfield. I'm at 207 Stratford, so I'm right next to the 4 new homes on Stratford. And I just want to say I am definitely in favor of this plan. I think it's going to make the neighborhood more beautiful because what we have now, like they've said, are decaying trees that aren't safe. I've had a lot of large branches fall in my yard as well. And also, definitely looking forward to being able to have a sidewalk. My wife walks to the train station every day, and it's extremely dangerous. It's dark, especially this time of year, and on a rainy day, walking on the street is really unsafe. So glad to hear that we'll be able to have the sidewalk extended. And wish we could go the whole way to the train station, but piece by piece, I guess.
This time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. All right. Any other public comment? So to follow proper order of operations, we do need to take another vote on this same project now that we've heard the public. So I'll make another motion to approve. Do I have a second? All right. All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Make sure Kaz's check don't bounce, you guys, so.
We'll strike that from the record. All right. 1001 Eagle Road. And I do see we have the contractor from 303 Orchard. Okay. After this, we'll come to you. Thank you.
We'll be quick.
Perfect. Thank you.
Good evening, Rob Lambert here on behalf of the applicant. I also have Patrick Stewart, landscape architect, with me. Last month we were here, and there was a couple little housekeeping items that we wanted to come back for. One was submitting the arborist report, which I believe you all have from Ward, and the other was fixing or adding to the tables on the trees with the number of required shade trees. We also took the opportunity, as we've been going back and forth, as you know, in the process, you go back and forth with reviewers. One of the things we did add is, if you look at the top of the page here, is there's an existing driveway in this location now. We previously showed removing that driveway. The driveway's coming back. It's really just an emergency access, so it would be a secondary means of access to the property. We'll have an easement on the adjacent Valley Forge military property, but it's really just an emergency access piece that required the removal, I believe it was 3 more trees to grade that out for emergency access, which are now included in the table.
Great. Yeah, I did take a look through the hazard tree report. Perfect. Thank you. And I also looked through the updated tree table. Looks great. Were there any other notable changes while you were going through the tree table, and any new species folded into the mix?
Not really anything changed. If you recall, this project, we're kind of asking for 2 different things. One is we have the by right application, which meets every number. The other one we're asking for is your feelings or recommendation if you would recommend doing a alternate plan where we were planting whips in an understory to try to reinforce the wooded area. There we go. Up in the upper left, that we were showing an area to be fenced off and providing whips in that area. We're happy to do either plan. We were just trying to provide an alternative, since this site gave, I think, a different opportunity than many other sites.
Mm-hmm. And just to refresh everyone's memory, the alternative plan would essentially be more trees, but whips instead of the required 2.5 caliper, correct?
Correct. And we were providing deer protection.
Sure. And I don't think we had John with us during this proposed alternative plan. John, do you have any?
That is correct, and Matt and I were speaking on this prior today. You know, the whips as a woodland mitigation are a viable species. You'll get the longevity, low maintenance, and survivability rates are going to be, you know, great.
And I would add that when you look at the property in its present condition, the trees are a disgrace. I mean, they're a mess. They're diseased, falling over, they fall on houses. The whip scenario would much reduce that possibility of happening. It would just be a healthier ecosystem, I think.
I will say, I've had some recent discussions and also just research in regards to the ecology of your top-level shade canopy and then all of the understory that goes along with it, and it really does make for a healthier ecosystem in the end. And I do think that this would be a good project and a good area to pilot this and see its success. But of course, up for discussion amongst the commission members if this is something that we would like to propose. I do think it would, in the end, provide a healthier woodland and ecosystem versus having to try and cram a bunch of large shade trees in there. But James, do you have any thoughts on the planting?
I don't think I'm experienced enough to know what you.
Put your mic on.
I mean, John, oh, sorry. John, I know you deal with this a lot. So you think the whips would be much better to reforest there?
Absolutely, especially when you're doing them as an understory subject. Survivability is the key. You know, putting a 2.5 to 3 inch caliper tree in an understory, chances of survivability are really diminished.
And is that where the
Yep.
2.5-inch trees were going?
That's correct.
Okay. I'm fine with the whips if everybody else is. I mean, I'd just rather see a stronger canopy.
Yeah, I think
years.
we'll still have a strong canopy even with the proposed alternative plan. It's just rather than the canopy being kind of grouped more closely together, it would be spread out a bit more with that understory included.
There's still a lot of trees being planted.
Right.
I mean, you look at it, you have an over-mature, unmanaged woodland structure among some dwellings that is, you know, failing currently. So, I mean, it's,
And
Is
could,
there
go ahead.
is there going to be a mixture of like small understory trees and larger canopy trees going in?
I'll refer to Patrick when it gets to the
Like some
specific trees.
Some red buds or?
We do have some understory trees. We had sweet birch, eastern redbud, American hop hornbeam, but the majority of them were trees that will become large canopy trees over time.
But there was some understory.
But we did scatter some in.
Okay.
And I also think when we do the whip plantings, it also can give us a little bit more diversity than we can find in nursery availability of 2.5-inch stock.
Yeah.
We could do trees and species that really are hard to find.
Right.
So I think it opens up to some more diversity too, so which I think that's a plus.
And just for the record, could you just go through the numbers of trees coming out and trees going in with the caliper for the alternative plan?
Sure. So there's 273 trees being required by the code for replacement. The ordinance requires 130 of those be large canopy. So on our compliance, what we've showed is we have 110 large canopy trees going back in. We have 43 shade trees going back in, 135 forest grade whips going back in, and about 1,800 linear feet of deer protection fencing. So we're putting back 153 trees that would be at the 2.5-inch caliper, and then we're proposing 135 forestry whips that would be in a number 2 container.
So that total would be in excess of the total required 273.
Yes.
Okay.
288, I think, something like
Yeah,
that.
288.
What kind of deer protection are you putting on?
We actually, I think we had a detail.
Cages around this?
We
We're doing the welded wire.
Yeah, we had talked to John about, what the best solution would be, because I've seen it work in some areas and not other areas, but this would be the pressure-treated post, 6-inch pressure-treated post, and then it would be the high-tensile welded wire that you see, so it's substantial, yeah.
So if you think about it, with the overbrowse, with the whitetail population there, this is another management tool that's going to let that oak regeneration and beech regeneration really, prosper.
And you said that was 1,800 of linear feet of encircling
Yeah,
the primary area? And that's exclusive as to where the whips would be going?
yeah, it would just be in that area where the whips is, I think it's, I feel like it was about 2.5 acres or something like that.
So that's roughly $20,000 worth of woodland management,
Yeah.
that fence
Yeah.
equation.
And I do think from a community desire perspective, keeping the woodland type feel as much as possible is something that everyone wants, given that, next door you have kind of the woodland that abuts Cabrini. So I think this, to me, makes sense in regards to making an exception for the caliper of tree. Could you speak just from an ecological perspective, other plantings that are going in outside of trees per this plan?
Sure, yeah. So under the code, we are required to put in a number of different categories, to satisfy a number of different categories for landscaping. So there'll be landscaping within the parking lots. We have 14 shade trees going within the parking lots. We have also on Eagle Road, we are required to put in a buffer. It's 11 more shade trees, some flowering trees, some evergreen trees. And along St. David's, we also have to put in a buffer. 60 evergreen trees and a number of over 100 shrubs are going in along that area too. So they're in addition to the replacement trees that we were just talking about.
Got it. And those 60 evergreens, I'm assuming they're green giants or something similar?
It's a good question.
Okay,
I bet you some of them are.
yeah.
Yeah, we had some green giant arborvitae, some Serbian spruce, some red cedar, and some Japanese cedar, some cryptomeria.
Understood. Okay, so on top of the 288, there would be another 60 plus some shrubbery that goes along with it.
Yes.
Great, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, great diversity. Okay, any other comments before I make a motion? All right, so I'll make a motion to approve and recommendation of the alternative plan. I think it would be a great fit for the site and also kind of what we've heard as a community. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye.
Thank you. And just for clarity, as we move forward, that alternate plan will need a waiver.
Sure.
And so what I'd actually ask is that you would recommend approval of the by right plan, but a recommendation also that the board approve the waiver to allow for the alternate plan. I don't want to make it too complicated. I just don't want them to come back and say, wait, we're not going to give you the waiver.
Sure.
Go back. So I just wanted to make sure both motions were clear.
Yeah, I will reform that. And actually, I need to ask if there's any public comment first for this plan or site. Okay. So I will reform this motion. So I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance, per the ordinance plan, but with a recommendation to the BOC that the alternative plan can be approved per a waiver. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Good
Thank you
call.
very much.
Thank you. Yes. Well, we'll love to visit the site and see how it's turned out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take some pictures too.
Okay, so we'll flip back up to 303 Orchard Way. So this is an addition, 600 cubic yards of dirt to remain on site, 1 tree to be removed. So if you could just introduce yourself and the project, and we'll talk trees and dirt.
Luke Atanasi with Rockwell Custom, GC. This is
Hi, Sandy Jones. I'm the homeowner along with my husband, Craig.
So there's a proposed addition on this property. There's 1 tree to be removed. It is a 10-inch yew. It's shown right here.
Okay. And that U is being removed. Oh, okay. Next page shows the addition. Got it.
Yeah, here's the addition here.
Okay.
Stormwater system is going here, and the tree protection for the rest of the property is on the next page.
What's your egress?
Excuse me?
Your egress?
Through the main driveway.
Got it. That's
Yeah.
what I figured.
It's on the first page. There it is here. So we have protection up and around this 60-inch tree in the front yard, 60-inch ash it's labeled as. And then this is the backyard here where there's a small addition going, protecting all the rear yard.
Are you treating that ash?
So we bought the house loving that ash very much. So we do have someone coming out to check. Actually, not part of this, but there are some other trees that we believe might be diseased. It's an old property that hasn't been well maintained, quite honestly. The yew tree that's being removed.
Do you mind speaking into the mic,
I'm so
please?
sorry, yeah.
No worries.
Yeah, it's an older property that wasn't entirely well maintained in terms of the landscaping, and so even the yew tree that's being removed has seen better days. It's actually very much blocking our dining room window and then my daughter's bedroom window. It's kind of like looks more like an overgrown bush. This is our forever home, so we'll be landscaping it perfectly and properly and making sure that it, everything that we will add trees to make up for the one removed, trust me. And then that yew tree we want to hold on to as long as possible. It's like a picture perfect. I don't know if you know it. It's like right at the end of the
Yeah,
block
sure.
here. It's
Yeah.
a beautiful tree, so.
Yeah, and good luck on the ash, because if it's that big an ash and it doesn't have any canopy issues, definitely treat it.
I heard you saying that before, and I was like, oh no, I think that tree's an ash, but we definitely will. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, the one concern I had was there's 600 yards, it says on the application coming out, and you're keeping it on site. It doesn't seem like there's much room where you could put it. So you're going to be building up.
Yeah, so
You're just going to want to,
that's,
that big, if you're saving the ash and there's other trees around there, if you pile it up on the roots, you're going to end up killing that.
absolutely. So the buildup is to be primarily in this backyard area where there are no trees right now.
Okay.
So we are not going to be disturbing anything in this front or in this rear back here at all.
So it's going to build up about 12 inches or so.
At least, yeah.
You have the space for it with.
Yep. And to make this driveway change and the transition, just right now, it does not work. So all this gets built up
Okay.
through here and
As
around
long
the
as
new
it's away
addition.
from the tree roots, and
Yeah,
you should be good.
absolutely.
Great. Any other comments? Okay, everything checks out. Thank you. I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. All right. Thank you. Best of luck with your project.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Do we have anyone from 197 South Spring Mill Road here? Nobody? Okay. So going back down to the bottom of the list, 317 Ivan Ave. The one from 317 Ivan. Oh. All right. So land development projects. go ahead and run us through the project, and we'll,
Sure. Again, Patrick Stewart with Stewart & Associates, with a landscape architect for the project. Scott Emerson's with me tonight. He's the applicant for the two-lot subdivision. And there's an existing home on the property that's being removed, and there'll be a two-lot subdivision created. We went out and looked at the existing trees, I guess maybe a month and a half ago. Since that time, I attended one of your meetings, and I know you had asked about an arborist report for another project. So we engaged Shriner Tree Care to go out and do a report for it. We just got it today, went through the plans. When we did our calculations a month ago, based on the trees that we saw that were on the survey, we had calculated a total of 18 required replacement trees, and we provided 25. I think once we dissect Shriner's report here and some of the hazards that he found out there, I think that number will come down. But we'd like to keep the plan the way it is and have more replacement trees on there because we think it's a good plan. Under the code, it was 18 required. We provided 25. Of the 18, 8 had to be large canopy. We provided the 8. And then the rest were all evergreens that we put around the perimeter. The site sits right next to the Township parking lot out here. So we thought that a buffer along the eastern property line made the most sense to buffer the parking lot. There is a decent Norway spruce that's on the property that's right in this location. And we looked at it with Ryan Day, the arborist from Shriner, and he thinks that we can save that tree. We're far enough away with some of the proposed improvements there. And it's in pretty good condition, and it's got some good scale to it. So either side of it, there's a hemlock that's got some really bad woolly adelgid, and there's a Colorado blue spruce that's like 75% dead. So we're going to, once those get removed, the structure of it looks pretty good. I think it's going to be in good shape. So we are preserving that tree. And then the rest was really to put a buffer in along the southern property line. There's some residential properties to the south of us that we'd like to really make sure they have a nice buffer there. It's there's a lot of weedy vegetation back there now today. So.
And Seth, just for clarity, I did walk with Mr. Stewart today. He asked me to come out and verify some things, and there were a few trees that the architects noted as Kentucky coffee tree that were actually an ash. So some of those trees were brought down. So we did verify everything today.
Great.
If you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you, John. And could you just talk through some of the species of the trees going in a little bit more in detail?
Sure. We've proposed, for the canopy trees, we've proposed white oak. There's 5 white oak going in. And then we've proposed 3 ginkgo. And for the evergreens, we've proposed 8 Norway spruce and 9 cryptomeria, Japanese cedar. We think we have enough room there instead of just doing straight arborvitae everywhere. We thought we had a little bit more space. And both those species usually do pretty well with deer browse. We usually don't have too many issues with those species.
Mm-hmm. Great. Does anyone have any comments on the species or anything else?
My staff chose autumn gold. Yeah. It's a little harder to find, but.
And Patrick, do we know what the ginkgos are? Like, the ginkgos are male?
We always specify them as male, and
They change sex,
They do.
But is ginkgo a good tree, John? Okay.
Very rare that they change back.
They just have a terrible smell sometimes.
I think they smell terrible.
And tree protection of existing trees?
So, yeah, we have it shown on, does this work if I point? I guess not. Around the Norway spruce. It's pretty, because of the 2 trees that grew on either side of it, it's got a pretty tight spread to it, canopy to it. Mm-hmm. So, the tree branches only come out 15 feet or so from the trunk, even though it's 60, 70 feet tall. So we showed tree protection fence in there.
So just from a landscape perspective, it sounds like most of the trees on site need to be removed for the actual construction, correct?
For the construction of the homes, also along Ivan, it's not shown on this plan, but there'll be as I understand it, there's going to be a sidewalk required. And we have overhead power lines. So there's a lot of trees right along Ivan that have been just hacked apart. That's noted in Ryan Day's report here from the power line companies, and also have to come out to put the sidewalk in. They're not substantial. They're Japanese maples, and there was a black locust and things like that. They 6 to 12-inch range. They weren't massive trees out along there. The biggest trees on the property, unfortunately, are there's 2 ash trees in the back corner of the property that are in really bad shape, so.
Okay.
And as I discussed with Pat earlier today on site, if for some reason the Norway spruce has to be removed, he will comp, and that should be put in, into the plan.
Good, okay. Okay, I think everything checks out. I don't have any further questions. Any other comments, questions? Any public comment? No one? All right, I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. All right.
Thank you
Best
for your
of
time.
luck.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay. I don't see anyone new. 197 South Spring Mill Road? No, okay. All right, so 506 Chalmont. I see we have everyone here. So I know the last time we spoke, we wanted to get some clarification and adjustments to the number of trees that have come out and clarifications thereof. I know John had worked on helping steer that in the right direction. So if you could just give us a summary of what's been done, that would be fantastic.
Well, when I spoke to John, the discussion we had was that the total trees removed were 81 total trees removed, and then the count for the replacements was 104. And we're proposing replacing it with 85 trees. So, and Mr. Liba has agreed to pay the fee in lieu of for the balance of the 19, because we think 85 is about what that property will sustain on a 2-acre lot.
I mean, it's maxed out. I mean, the 85 is maxed out.
Okay. And remind me the total trees coming out or that have come out.
Total that have come out and will be coming out is 81.
81. Okay.
So,
Understood. How many are yet to come out?
probably, I would say about 40 to 50.
Okay.
Most of the smaller, like the 6 to 10s, have been
Sure.
removed.
And then the other half are the ones that have
The
come
big
out over the
boys, yeah.
past couple
Mhm.
of years, right? Okay. And remind us, when did the removals start? That was sometime last year?
That was before my time.
Sure, okay. Good answer. And then, just for the record, the planned replacement trees, could you just walk us through the species?
Sure.
Have to
So,
be every single one, but just a summary.
yeah, we've got some autumn flame maples, a couple bur oaks, a couple dawn redwoods, a couple eastern redbuds, some Stewardia monadelphia, a couple crepe myrtles, a sweet bay magnolia, and then all the evergreens are Japanese cedars, Yoshino cryptomerias, arborvitaes, green giants, and then blue atlas cedars along the back property line here.
Okay. Does anyone on the commission have any comments on the species or any other questions? Okay. So thank you for making the updates as requested to the tree replacement table and for clarifying the prior work and future work, and getting everything buttoned up.
If I could make one comment,
Yes.
you know, if for some reason you find you need to take down another tree, you have a lot of neighbors watching you guys. That's what prompted you being here tonight, okay? So if that happens, please contact the township, let us know what you have to take down, we'll inspect it, and we'll either give you the green light or the red light on it. But just let us know, just don't willy-nilly
Based
cut it down.
based off our removal plan, which Carolina had printed out here, and then the only trees that we're saving are, we've got a large southern catalpa out front that we're saving here. And then there was a southern magnolia, and then a Jane magnolia on the other side. So pretty much everything else is coming out. So clean slating it. Yeah, we'll have protection fence up and, yeah. Yep. Yep.
Okay, thanks for that, John.
Maybe I should go on record, he has a check for the fee in lieu of.
Okay,
If that can go to Mr. Ledgerton, and then Mr. Ledgerton can give it to Trish tomorrow.
yeah,
Yeah, you take it. Just write out the James Gibbons Landscaping Services.
yeah, don't give it to him.
Kidding.
Yeah,
Consultation services.
that sounds good, thank you. Okay, so I will make a motion to approve as discussed. Do you have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. All right, thank you. I know this has been a marathon, so appreciate it.
All good.
Yes, you may.
I know you have a bad idea about me, like I cut the trees without permit. Honestly, I did not know I have to have a permit to cut the trees. Plus, the trees, it was really bad trees. I think the person who had the house before, he planted too many trees. And the wrong trees, it became really big and sick. And it has a lot of things like green and stuff, like you'll be scared to touch it. And every time we go outside, I have a couple of twins, like two twins, like small young kids, 5 years old. Every time they come back from outside, pimple everywhere. So I said, okay, let's cut the trees. And then we really cut maybe like 20 trees. And ugly trees, like you really don't want it to be in your house, like anywhere. Like even if you see it in the street, you don't want it. So I apologize if you think I just tried to cut the trees without any permission or anything. That's why I just figured out to just apologize to you. And in the same time, I would love to have Mr. John to come to the house to see the trees. And before even I start to cut it, then he's gonna tell me, go ahead, it's take it off.
You're not the first person to do this, by the way, and we know a lot of people don't understand like some of the code and some of the, and Seth has been working as a chair to improve, Seth and Jenny, to improve the awareness. So we understand.
Again, I'm sorry, I wish we would be friends instead of you just to hate my address or something. Okay, I did.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the words. And good luck with the project. Yes, thank you both.
Yep, thank you, guys.
Yeah, good luck. All right, now off to a great update. Radnor Township, yep, and 250 times 19.
In the memo, I would put shade tree commission fee in lieu of tree fund to help.
Yeah, you can, Shade Tree Commission. 250 times 19 is 4750. Yep.
You're working for the defendant here. Your mouth's wrong.
take a quick pause before we move into our old business here. Yes. The good news.
The address is on there, right?
Okay. Good evening, thank you. So we'll move into our old business and most recent business and some great news. So we just wrapped up this past weekend getting all of the 150 trees from our fall bare root street tree and parks planting wrapped up. So notable mentions include Public Works and Parks, specifically Steve Ledgerton. We got John helped plant a bunch, Steve Schreiner, and then Tree Authority. So it definitely took a village to get all these trees in, but I think everyone did a great job. And thanks to all of the volunteers and everyone else who came out to the parks too. So it was a great event. Cabrini University. And I know obviously we got tools and everything else from Do It Best, but I know the day of we needed to get some pruners and other things, and I know that there were some donations there too. So.
Does anybody know how Harper Park Trail went? Was anybody up there at all?
Yeah, James and I were there.
James, did you use your mini?
I tried to go as quick as I could. Shriner guys came behind, like, there was a lot of volunteers, but a lot of people had to leave early. But the Shriner guys stayed around and planted the last couple. I didn't do any planting, I just dug for them, and thank goodness we had.
Did you just go down the trail with it?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I tried to get back up a couple times. Seth was watching.
James couldn't get back up the hill.
I went down somebody's driveway, so I apologize if they're watching.
So yeah, thank you to everyone involved. I did want to take a quick moment to pause about what went well, what didn't go well, if there's any feedback. I'll kick it off with just a couple of things. Obviously, I mean the coordination of 50 in the parks, 100 at residence, it's just a whirlwind of logistics. But certainly some things we can chat about to talk through for our next planting. So one was species. So obviously in the parks, it's not a problem, but for residents, so we had indicated preferred species, but it clearly wasn't clear enough. So I think next go around, we'll make that extremely clear that it's kind of a first come, first served basis. And we might even put some sort of, maybe first, second pick type scenario. I think we've learned with this number of trees what people like, what people don't like. So a lot of requests for silver maples and sugar maples and Carolina silver bells. Beautiful trees, but a lot of people wanted those. And then some of the messier trees like heritage oaks or anything that has, a lot of acorn droppings, a lot of people wanted to swap out for those. So on the resident side, I don't have the exact count, but there were probably 7 or 8 that canceled, but we were able to find plenty of residents from our wait list, and then also a bunch of residents to take 2 trees instead of 1.
So Seth, let me just ask you on that point,
Sure.
because in years prior, we didn't offer them a specific species. Do we really feel like we need to get to that level of logistics? I mean, I would think it would be really hard on Public Works to sort through the trees. Oh, geez, I need a silver maple for here, I need an oak for there, you know, just because of the number of trees.
The thought was to at least give an idea of, because what we wanted to do was order a good mix of species. So Frank had put in the order of, 10, 15 different kinds of species, 10 of each. Because we have to get the order in so soon.
Sure. But shouldn't they sort of get what they get, considering it's for free?
Yeah. So, maybe we have 2 options. One is we could just ditch the, species request altogether, or we make the species request much more clear that it's more of a guide in regards to what they prefer, and it's 100% not guaranteed whatsoever.
That sounds like a good way to
Yeah.
go. Takes a little pressure off, I think, the
Yeah,
Public Works
because I do
folks.
want, at least on that side of the coin, it really gets the resident thinking about the species and
Right.
location, so there's a benefit to that, I
Sure.
think. But I think, for our next planting, what we could possibly do is definitely throw in more of the species that we know people liked and less of the ones that we knew people didn't like. So it was definitely, it's a lot to make happen and make everyone happy at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, but I think all around it went well. So there's Eileen. How are you? I would like the planters to give their perspectives if they have any. Steve, you want to? I'll put you on the spot. Any feedback from the planting or while you guys were going around to the residents?
No, it all seemed to go smooth. I mean, the tree authority was questioning the species, but I don't know if it was just them or it was coming from the residents. But other than that, no, we had no issues on our end.
Good.
And we were fortunate enough on our round of 32 trees or 33 trees that the species were there, so it was good that we
Great. Yeah.
planted what we said we were planting in our property. So
Yeah. Great. Good. And parks, I know there was some, Steve, thank you so much for, we leave somewhat of a mess from a volunteer perspective, so thanks for cleaning up and going back and mulching and cleaning up and collecting the tools and all that good stuff. So it's tough because with volunteers, we want to do the job 100%, but sometimes just with the amount of time we have and going around and double checking everything, it can be a lot. So
One positive thing I can say from the parks planning was, thank you very much for delivering the trash cans of water. We would never have been able to lug them up that hill. Oh, my God. So thank you. That helped a lot. It made a big difference, Steve.
yeah, that was a last-minute request, and thank you for fulfilling that.
No problem.
I know it worked so well that we'll likely make you do it in the future, too. So apologies in advance. Yeah. Stop doing such a good job.
There's a lot of moving pieces, but it all came together in the end, so it's a good thing.
Good. And did you guys get the tree diapers placed at any of the trees in the parks?
Honestly, no. We're still working on that. We're still
Okay.
working on the deer fencing. We're still working on the mulching at this point. Right now, Public Works is, hot
Sure.
and heavy in the leaves.
Yep, no
You know,
worries.
so-
The only reason I ask is just let us know how they work out, because, this is a new pilot for us to try these tree diapers. As mentioned, I've used them personally, and they're awesome. Every time it rains, you see them puff up, which is pretty wild. And they work as a great weed barrier, too. So I know the ones that we had got through PHS, they're actually two separate halves to a donut, and they're I'm pretty sure one of the biggest sizes you can get. So it'll be interesting to see, how they fare throughout the growth of the tree. But I'm hopeful that they're successful, and I would recommend placing them in the parks that are kind of off the beaten path that, you may not be able to get to water trees that often, or ones that are kind of like in open, direct sunlight to help them throughout the summer months. But thanks again. Cool. Any other questions, comments on how everything went? Great. I did get offers from Shriner, from John and Rockwell, to do this again next year, which is great. And I've been getting some comments around, if we can do 150, we can do more. So obviously our budget will dictate how many we can plant. But now that we've kind of gone through this scale of planting, I think we keep striving for the stars and keep knocking out planting as many trees as we can.
And I can say that the trees that went into Orderisio Park, I think last year, have all thrived, have all been, they're doing great. Public Works is all over the maintenance and watering, and so, that's a good template, this program.
Good. Glad to hear it. I do think it's kind of a guerrilla marketing tactic of especially getting, all these residents to sign up for their trees at their homes, plus also volunteering. On the radnortrees.com landing page that I had set up for registration, we have our all of our information there, including the master flyer. So hopefully this is kind of another way to communicate what we do, our ordinance, and hopefully it gets more people thinking about trees. Great. Cool. So next order of business on old business. So last night, finally, the Personnel of Commission was presented to the BOC, and that was the introduction. So because of it being an ordinance update, it needs to be introduced first, and then it can be adopted 30 days from yesterday. So once that happens, then we can officially accept someone that isn't from Parks. I would like to announce, and happy to announce, that Ginny is going to be staying with us. Maybe not a full next term, and that's all right, but at least another year or two. So thank you, Ginny. Happy to continue to have you on board. And I know that we have spoken to a few people regarding the vacancy that we have, and I know that those applications are being actively reviewed by Township Manager, and I'm sure we will hear something soon. So thank you, everyone, for spreading the word. Yes.
How are you? I'm sorry, I apologize. I thought the meeting was tomorrow.
No worries. 197?
197.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, great. I'm so sorry.
No worries. So let me bring up your plans here, and you don't have any physical.
I don't.
Okay, no worries.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries. It's great that you were able to make it. So you're with 197 South Spring Mill Road. A pool and patio and pool house are going in. 50 yards of dirt to remain on site, 7 trees to be removed. So if you could just state your name, relation to the project, and just run us through the project, and then we'll talk trees, replacements, and all that good stuff.
Definitely, yes. So I'm Chris Doherty with Shot Group. I prepared the plans with Dave Fiorello in our office. And so the project, it was a pool house pool. We did make a mistake when we filled out the application. We have 0 trees to be removed.
Okay.
We had put impacted trees. I had then, sent that application back with 0 trees to be removed, but the excavation was triggering our requirement for shade tree.
So when you say trees impacted, do you mean
Yes.
by tree protection?
Impacted, just meaning that we're disturbing within the drip lines.
Understood.
So we have a lot of those triangles on our plans.
Okay.
Showing those. And those are to remain. but we kind of just made a mistake filling out the application with the removals.
Sure, no worries.
We are protecting them. There's a level spreader that gets close to some trees as well. But yes.
Out of the 7, do you feel as if some are more likely to not survive than others?
We think they'll all be okay. We're not extremely close to them, but there is a lot of excavation going on. I think the biggest thing would be with our stockpile. We're trying to keep that up closer to the house, not near any trees, to just smother the roots pretty much. But that is where we want to do the pool house and pool, and the storm system is just below it, so.
Sure.
Doesn't seem like
Looking
we
at
could change it. Yep.
your plans and the tree protection indicated by the blue hatch and line, it does look like it's encircling a fair amount, but it's kind of indicated in sections versus kind of encompassing the entire tree line in the back. Was there a reason for that? I'm assuming excavation reasons?
Yeah, we probably were just following the drip lines of the trees, but yeah, we can definitely encompass all of that.
Yeah, I see the 43-inch poplar
Yeah, it's a big guy.
is the one that I'm looking at specifically, because I see that the stormwater is going not super close, but close enough to where that tree is. So I personally would want to see that wrapped in tree protection.
Yeah, so we could probably, around our whole LOD that's down on the bottom side, like make it a whole U.
Yeah, just run it around the whole thing, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
That would make most sense.
No problem.
Because it just takes one little gap for someone to park
Right.
an excavator or throw some dirt. So.
Put a stockpile there, yeah, makes sense.
Okay. Does anyone else on the commission have any comments?
Yeah, the stormwater, can you move that closer to the,
Closer to the pool? Or,
yeah, just, because you're right up against the,
yeah, there's two.
like you're near another poplar, maple.
And by the stormwater, like the level spreader where we
Yeah.
kind of extend lower? Yeah, we can probably make that higher.
Keep it, there's that big space between the trees and your other tree protection going towards the pool, or the pool house, like, right?
Yes.
Going towards the pool house, yeah.
So bring it up closer to the
Bring it
house?
up closer, kind of, that way you're keeping away from those other trees. Because I can
Right.
see an excavator coming back there and just going right over those,
Those-
coming right into that tree protection there.
Okay, yeah, I think we can probably work some elevations out with that.
Yeah, because it looks like
I think we have some slope.
362, 360, so 364. Yeah, so it looks like you're going down the whole way there, so.
Yep.
Kind of pull it away from those trees might be a little bit, might save the roots there.
Okay, yeah, well, you can move it up a couple feet, probably, to make that work.
I agree with you, Seth, with the, have tree protection around the big poplar.
Yeah.
Okay.
'Cause
Yeah.
somebody's gonna go over those roots when you're digging the pool house.
Okay, all right, thanks. Yeah, we can do that.
And then, James and Matt, was there some reason why this wasn't a consent agenda item?
Yeah, there's 7 trees to be removed on the application, so anything over the 5, I always recommend coming to shade tree. I think Matt would agree with, I think
when you're getting to that number, you're getting to the point where a neighbor could show up. And then we have this consented, and then the person has nothing to do except say, I have these issues. And I just think it's better, like, when we, anything over the limit, I think we should, unless we can really, really see what's going on. And you remember, some of the site visits, you just can't. You can't really get into a property. This
Yeah,
was
and I
one
would
of,
never
this was one of
consent.
those. What?
I would never put a consent anything over 5 trees.
Yeah.
Even with 5 trees, I would send here to be safe.
Yeah, it
Plus,
just-
there was no tree protection on the poplar. So if they want to say that, hopefully they do. Tree protection would be good to have. So they were the reasons.
Any other questions, comments? So I'd like to make a motion to approve contingent upon, if you could make those plan revisions to include and indicate the additional tree protection, and then also see if you're able to maneuver around the stormwater management in a way that's a little bit further away from the trees. That would be fantastic. And get that to the township. So, do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. All right, thank you and good
I
luck.
apologize for being late. I'm sorry about that.
All good, you made it.
Okay.
All right, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thanks.
Okay. Other old business, comprehensive update in progress. We've been busy, so we'll get back to that soon enough. But I do think now that we've been through the summer months and fall months that there are certainly some priority updates that we would want to look at making just based off of all of the plans we've been reviewing and feedback we've been hearing from residents. Any other old business that anyone would like to chat about? All right. New business. So, James, you had requested a couple of items to be thrown on the agenda. So the tap trail tree replacements. I know the last time we followed up with Norsini on this was over the summer. John has an update?
Yep. So my technician met with 82 rents mid-September. There was 47 trees required to be replaced, and it was just drought-stricken trees. They actually came and replaced 52. We don't know why, but they added more trees in for no reason at all. But they have been replaced. The trees are of the species per the plan, and the size is actually perfect.
Great. When did that happen? Recently?
Just over the last 2.5 weeks.
Okay.
Yep.
Did they remove the other trees?
Say it again.
Did they remove the
Yes, they did.
drought-stricken
Yep,
trees?
yep, they did.
Okay. And when we say the tap trail, is this the,
That runs along Route 30, up King of Prussia Road, up towards the bus depot.
Around the high
And then, yep.
okay.
And then there's one on Bryn Mawr. It cuts over to Bryn Mawr Avenue and also goes across Chester, Darby Chester Road.
So does this cover Lancaster Avenue and Radnor Chester? Okay. Okay, that's great. That's
Great,
really
yeah.
good.
I'm happy to see those were replaced, and hopefully those guys survive. Did we learn anything from the ones that did perish? Like, was there more species
In
than
speaking with the GC, he believes that watering did not occur. He was kind of honest with me. He said, I don't believe watering occurred by the actual landscaper doing the planting.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
Post care is important, as we know.
Yeah.
What's great is, we have cooler temps. We've had some moisture. We're going to get more moisture tomorrow. Got moisture coming in next week. So, I believe we're going to get a good go around.
Yeah. Has the landscaper promised to put the trees on a watering schedule? Do we know?
He has not. He's not obligated to.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yep.
Okay.
So it's something Steve and I can talk about with Ricky about if we do get a drought situation where,
Yeah.
Because there is accessibility there along the trail, a truck can go on that trail.
Sure.
So if we need to, we can bring your jet truck out and soak some of the new ones.
Yeah. Were tree diapers, not diapers, gator bags on those trees?
Or not.
Okay. But obviously that would have to come out of someone's budget to make that happen. And I'm sure that grant account is closed at this point for any sort of contingency.
I just think it's something that maybe, part of our January or February workshop meetings, we can talk about hit list of watering things that need to be done
Yeah.
and draft a cheat sheet for Public Works on areas we need to focus on for watering. Because we have some trees at WBA that were replaced this year by Bryn Mawr Landscaping, so we should make sure to focus on those. And I have that list, so maybe we can compile a list.
Yeah.
So when Steve and them guys run out of work, which will probably never occur, they can go and water.
The ones in the WBA, those were gator bagged though, right?
They were.
Yeah, okay. So might be good candidates for tree diapers. I don't know, we'll see.
I gotta check and see if
I'm invested in,
bottom of that website, if he's an investor there.
neither confirm nor deny there, John.
They do work well. Jay down in landscaping, you know, they're a commercial, they were the first guys to use them, and I saw them one time, like, what is that?
Yeah.
And they love them. They
Yeah.
just, you know.
I figured, PHS is really pushing them, so they have to work, So, yeah, we'll see. And they're not super expensive either. I mean, they're a little bit more expensive than the gator bags, but not that much, to be honest. So, so we actually got the tree diapers through PHS for $35, which is like, I think it was 50% of MSRP. So those were the biggest ones, though. The ones that I've been getting personally are just $30 a pop, and they're 24-inch guys, which are perfect size for even the bare roots we planted, yeah. And you can just leave them there through the existence of the tree. The smaller ones are one complete donut with a slit, so you would never fear of choking out the root base or the tree base, and then the larger ones have the dual split, and they protect from weeds too. All right, hazardous trees. John, do you have any comments on any of these on the list?
That we had to condemn. Let me see the list there real quick. So yeah, we had the house trees that came in through the contractors, through resident concerns. Those have all been confirmed. And then Radnor Township removed a few, one being a 30-inch ash at Belrose, a pin oak that was in decline with a dead top. And then at the Willows, we had a 24-inch red maple that had some storm damage.
Great, thank you. And I do want to note, so 400 South Wayne, I know that had come up on our agenda a couple of times. And we finally did confirm counts of trees that were removed last year, this year. And then also the hazard tree report was submitted for one of the trees that was in question. And I know, John, you had reviewed that, and
That is correct.
Ricky had reviewed. So I think we're all square with that property as of right now. All right, and sorry, James, I skipped over the second item under new business, which is ash tree removals really throughout the township and PICO correspondence and all of that. You want to speak to that quickly,
Yes,
James?
so I brought that up because I saw Shriner was taking down some, and there was some others taken down before. I did call Asplund, and I got a list of trees that they're going to be doing in the next month or two.
Yep.
And I'll share that. Last time I asked about a year or two ago, I think it was Steve, or I didn't think it was Ricky, but there was no communication between PICO
I do remember you asking that, yeah.
and the township. So I thought maybe if there's trees that are on Asplund or PICO's list, that the township wouldn't have to spend the money to go ahead and take them down. So I did get a list of some trees. I didn't go through it yet, but I can send it to you guys. We can look through it and see. And then I think maybe in,
Substantial list, or?
No, there was some Newtown Square, Bryn Mawr, Villanova. Some of the roads, I'm not even sure if they're in in the township.
Is it
So
under,
I just got it this afternoon, so I haven't had time to look through it.
under 50, you would think?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I think there's probably more, because they took down like, I'd say 5 or 6 just right around our neighborhood this past week. But going into 2023, it seems like they only schedule up until the end of the year. Get in touch with, I have his contact now.
Great.
We should get in touch with them and kind of coordinate with the township, so we're not, if they're gonna pay for PICO. And I think PICO has a got a grant from the state. Did you hear anything about this? For ash trees? I think most of that money was used up this year from what I've heard, but it probably will go to next year as well. And so they're getting money from the state to pay for ash tree removals. And this is all around electric lines, I'm sure. So it's something I think we should keep in mind so the township isn't taking down trees that are already going to be cut down.
Sure. Yeah, no, thanks
So
for.
I'll share that list so you guys can see it. And
Thanks for reaching out and digging into that, James. Appreciate it. And I do think the other thing too is communication to residents. So, you know, I know the township's been doing a great job at sending out communications when, you know, the removals happened at the Radnor Trail and then just other construction that's going on, like up near King of Prussia Road and things to that nature. But if we can get as much of a heads up as possible, that would be great. Okay. Speaking of trees removed by Radnor Township, so there's a host of those. John, I don't know if, or Steve, if you guys were involved with any of those, or if you have anything to note. West Wayne Preserve, 22.
Is actually a dwelling that sits to the left. I guess it would be the western side of the preserve. And they're all black locust and ash that are within striking distance. That area's never been managed. Fortunately, I think there was a plan in place for an entire stormwater management system where they're gonna put a really elaborate landscape in, kind of like a wetland slash stormwater landscape in. I know that's in the works. I'm not sure when that's gonna begin. However, these trees need to be taken care of right away. Yep.
Great.
do you know if that was part of another, was it approved, like, did we see it before? Or is it just something that somebody said, go ahead and do it?
So you did see it years ago. It came in front of us. And
Part of
then,
that whole thing, right?
correct. And then it just got left to the side, and actually one of the trees fell down, and that's why it came back up again.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Wasn't there plans to do a large project in that area?
Stormwater management project that's going to begin shortly.
Right. Okay. So the 22 that were removed is outside of the rest?
It's right outside
Right.
the LOD of that project.
But the project itself proposed to remove, I forget the count, 100, right? Quite a few trees, but also replant quite a few trees, right? Yep.
As per our ordinance.
Yep, you got it. All right.
Hey, sorry, just one quick question.
Yeah.
Where is West Wayne Preserve?
So it's,
Oh, okay.
Just off West Wayne Avenue.
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's
I know
like,
where it is.
it's kind of like,
Okay. Yep,
yeah,
okay, that's great.
almost kind of
Thank
like behind where White Dog is, Lancaster Ave, a couple streets back. Okay, before we close, anyone have anything else you want to talk about? Great. Oh, yes. I thought we had spoke to that last meeting, but maybe not. So great news. So the tree maintenance proposal was put forth to the board a couple meetings ago. And it's not necessarily an approval requirement, but we did get head nods from all of the BOC members. So that would entail carving out $50,000 from the general tree removal funds next year to use for more preventative maintenance outside of removals. So that would be devining, pruning, possibly injections, but likely not this first go around. And we initially identified Radnor Trail and then Skunk Hollow down by the Willows to target first. Obviously, that can change based upon what we dive into next year. So from a next steps perspective, I know Leah had been kind of inquiring and reaching out and thinking about, you know, who a good partner would be to perform the work. Obviously, anything above the $25,000 mark has to go out for bid. So maybe it's, you know, split up throughout the year, or maybe it is one big chunk. So in any event, first milestone is complete, the approval, essentially. But next comes logistics, and we can work on the details as we can. And of course, you know, we'll work with John and Steve and everyone else to make sure we target high visibility areas first, and make sure it's successful, and hopefully we get a good program in place and can do it moving forward. So all good stuff. Well, so we didn't move the budget one way or the other. We're just allocating, there's roughly like $150,000 to $200,000 every year allocated for tree removals. So we're taking 50 of that, more or less, and diverting it towards preventative care. And we did get, you know, the kind of agreement from Bill White and the board, whereas if this program is successful, you know, in the future, maybe, you know, there's more funds allocated for this. I mean, the end goal with this is to obviously save more trees, but also save money, right? So I wouldn't want to see this program have a significant impact to, you know, the budget and taxpayers, but I think over time we can kind of be net neutral with how this is approached, but we'll go from there. All right, anything else? No public comment? All right, this meeting's adjourned. Thank you all.